All right, everybody, thanks so much for listening to us. If you're listening to us for the first time, please like, subscribe, and share, but definitely, regardless, subscribe. We're trying to get this interview out to as many people as possible. We have Noelani Soto on, and she just did write an article a little while ago about 24 hours, what you should be doing in your 24 hours from Disney. Noelani, went to college, I would say, in your neck of the woods in Boca Raton, so not too far from where you're at. So I know that drive extremely well from South Florida to Orlando. So you're going to tell the viewers about that. But Noelani, thanks so much for coming on. Greatly appreciate your time today.
Of course. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
All right, so even before we get into the article and Disney in general, can you tell the viewers a little bit about you and how you got involved in journalism in general?
Of course. So journalism is actually something I'm currently pursuing.
Okay.
So I've actually been in public relations for 6 going on 7 years now. And during the pandemic, I feel like a lot of people just went through, career changes or something like that. And I went through the same thing. And so I decided to just start taking journalism classes because writing was something that I was always interested in. So I'm doing an online program now at NYU. Um, and yeah, so I'm just like learning the basics of journalism and freelancing in journalism specifically. So I just started pitching out ideas, and this was one of the ideas since I live so close or pretty close to Orlando. Um, Doing these 24-hour, Saturday to Sunday trips was something that I always do, whether it's with family or friends. So I thought like I considered myself a bit of an expert in doing these like short weekend trips.
So when did you first discover your love for Disney in general?
Oh man, I've been going to Disney since I was months old. My parents just decided, it would be a good idea. Let's take her when she's, 9 months old or something like that. So yeah, so I had, of course, when you're a baby, you don't really know what's going on, but they took me. I feel like since I've been going there forever, like I just love going there. And I swear there's something in the air that they put there that you just like become a different version of yourself, a happier version of yourself. You just like enjoy it so much, no matter if you're going to the parks or if you're just hanging out at one of the resorts or just going to Disney Springs. It's just an overall great experience, like at any age, really.
Can you talk about your first memory of going to a Disney park? What was it? Was it a ride? Was it meeting a character? What was it?
It was definitely meeting a character, meeting Mickey specifically for the first time. I think that's who everyone grows up,
Right.
knowing and wanting to meet for the first time. And the first time I met him, we were at a character dining experience. I don't remember which one specifically, but it was one where Mickey comes out and he goes to everyone's table and, talks to the kids and stuff. Or so I remember he came to my table, and when he was leaving I actually started like crying. So like he actually took me out of my high chair and like we started playing on the floor together, and it was just like you wouldn't expect, you know a character to go that deep into like the experience, but it was just like such a good like experience when you're a child, and you're like, wow, like this character is like playing with me, and like this is like real life.
So let's go to this in a lightning round questions. So, what is your favorite attraction at Walt Disney World?
Oh my gosh, that's so hard. That is a hard question. I love so many rides there. Um, hmm. I think I'm gonna have to say Tower of Terror is
Okay,
my
you're a
favorite.
daredevil. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. Just that going up and down in the elevator and the drop and everything. Just like sometimes I get so nervous I'll start laughing on that ride instead of screaming.
Okay. All right, we'll move to the favorite resort.
My favorite resort is the Contemporary.
Why is that? Just because the monorail or the Mickey restaurant or what?
I love the monorail that goes
Mhm.
through. I think that's so cool. I just think it's always been like my favorite resort. I love the view that you can get of the fireworks at night from there. I love that it's, that futuristic feel. I think it's just very cool.
Okay, fair enough. I'm usually, since I used to always go on the Skyliner when the coronavirus and stuff, I used to go and just walk
Yes.
around Riviera and
Yes.
Caribbean Beach and Pop Century. So
They're all
I'm
so
kind,
nice. They're
yeah,
all
they're not the
nice.
greatest resort. I mean, they're good, but I just enjoyed it because of the Skyliner. Are you a huge fan of the Skyliner or no?
Yeah, I love the Skyliner. I think that was a great idea that they had. One of the few great ideas lately that they've had.
I do get nervous though about getting stuck sometimes.
About getting stuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that freaks me. And I know there was a lot of people when they first opened it that got stuck,
Yeah.
and that would really freak me the hell out in plain
Yeah.
English. I'm not gonna lie to you, but
I
we'll
agree. I agree.
we'll move on. So, a favorite restaurant, whether it was at Disney Springs or in one of the parks.
My favorite restaurant, I think, has to be at Disney Springs. I think it's called
Okay.
the Boathouse,
Yep.
where you can actually like eat outside and see like the lake and stuff like that. I think it's very, very nice.
Right. It is good, and you're right. It is the Bodos. All right, so
Yeah.
so like, what is your favorite show at Walt Disney World? So I guess we'll split it into two things, Noelani. So the
Hmm.
fireworks show and
Okay.
also a regular show, whether it's Frozen, Festival of Lion King. There's many other shows I could go through them, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to take all day.
I'm probably gonna get some hate for this, but I'm not a show person.
Oh, okay. Why
Yeah,
is that?
I don't know. I think it's something about like sitting and watching a show and knowing that you have so many other like activities to get to just
Okay.
like makes me like really antsy and anxious. But I have been to the Lion King show and
Mhm.
I do really like it a lot. I think that is like if I had to watch another show, I think it would definitely be the Lion King.
So you
So I'll
bypass
go.
all the shows then, correct?
Yeah, I
Wow.
really do. I just go like straight to rides. And I bypass all the shows. If I have some time to kill, then maybe I'll
Mhm.
consider going to a show. But for the most part, I just keep going.
Okay, that's fair enough. I respect that. Hey, everybody's got their own kicks of what they like, so
Yeah.
I respect that. So we'll move forward. Favorite pool at a resort, or you can say water park if you prefer that better.
Ooh, a pool. Oh my gosh, I love all the pools are so great. I've actually, been pool hopping before. So that's been fun.
Mhm.
My favorite pool. So this pool is not a Disney resort. It's one of their neighborhood friendly
Mhm.
resorts that are in the Disney Springs area.
Yeah.
And it is the Hilton that's directly across the street from Disney Springs has a lazy river.
Yeah.
So that is the one that I love because I love going on that lazy river and just sitting there and just going around in circles. I think it's great. It's also pretty big. I've gone in March during spring break before, and it was just big enough that people weren't crowding. There was a lot of space for the chairs, like it didn't feel crowded, so it was really nice, and I really enjoyed it. I like that, it wasn't there weren't a bunch of like, it wasn't a lot of screaming kids or anything
Yeah.
like that. So it was just right.
All right. And last two quick questions. So, are you a Mickey ears person or not?
Yes, I am. I definitely am. I have three pairs, I think I have
Okay.
of Mickey ears, and they're all glittery. So
Okay. Okay. So you're wearing Mickey ears every time you go into the park, then,
I
correct?
am.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. And last question. what kind of character dining experience is your favorite one that you've went to?
The one inside the castle at Magic Kingdom with all of the
Cinderella's.
princesses.
Okay.
Yes, that
Royalty.
one was as an adult, I went there and it was the greatest experience I've ever had. I love how the princesses come to your table and talk to you and take a picture with you. It felt very magical and very like Disney-like. This was pre-pandemic, so it might have changed, but it was just an incredibly magical experience.
I want to go into this next audience question, which is an audience question, but I want to ask you this too, because this really has bothered me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, as a person that loves Hollywood Studios, that was my favorite park, and I think they really
Yeah.
messed it up in general with the whole Star Wars land and also Toy Story land. I love Toy Story. Midway Mania is one of my favorite rides at Hollywood Studios, but also Disney in general. I agree that maybe they should have built those lands. But my
Mm-hmm.
thing was Disney had way more room than Universal. They should have built another park. They have plenty of room to do that.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to go on the cheap and they wanted to build those two lands in Hollywood Studios. When you walk around Hollywood Studios, the
Mm-hmm.
theming there is totally different than the way was the park was intended to be. The park
Right.
was intended to be like Universal Studios Florida was supposed to be about movies. Now it's
Right.
like you have Star Wars here, and even when
Yeah.
when you walk in, you have Indiana Jones, then you have Star Tours, then you have Muppets, then you have Star
Yeah.
Wars Land. I mean, everything is
Yeah.
all over the place. Then you have Toy Story on the other side, and then you have Rock and Roller
Mm-hmm.
Coaster, Beauty and the Beast. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
like everything is just plopped, and
Yeah.
there's no theming at all anymore. So I think
Right.
they really messed up that park. A ride that I really loved there was the Great Movie Ride. That was the
Yes.
iconic
Mhm.
ride of that park.
Yep.
We talk about Disney nostalgia, Small World, Pirates of the Caribbean. For Hollywood Studios, that was the Great Movie Ride. And for them to just take
Yep.
that out because the TCM contract ran out, they didn't want to pay. I get that, but Disney owns so many movies right now. They could have
Yeah.
just redid the whole ride, kept it the Great Movie Ride, and just moved some of the scenes around or put some scenes that Disney owns and just did that. Instead, they made it Runaway Rail. I haven't been on that ride, so I'm not going to speak to it, but I've heard a lot of people that are disappointed in the way that is compared to the Great Movie Ride. So I'll just ask you that about Hollywood Studios because we did get a lot of questions on that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I agree about the Great Movie Ride. I think that it should have just been updated
Mhm.
instead of completely removed into something different. I haven't been on the new railroad ride yet
Mhm.
either. Um, but yeah, I feel like Hollywood Studios has changed a lot, and I feel like adding that Toy Story land and Star Wars land, very cool concepts, very cool to walk through them, very cool to walk through Star Wars land and feel like, you're in the movie. But I do feel like it was kind of like just thrown there,
Right.
just put there, and you're just like, okay, like this is awesome. This is really cool. I love all of these rides and things. But, we already had a Star Wars ride, we already had a Toy Story ride. Why couldn't we add more movie rides, from different Disney movies instead of throwing these lands in there that take up so much space, as you were saying? Um, and I remember, being younger, and it was like that cool place that you would go to like experience different movies and things like that. And Indiana Jones was very cool. We've always loved that show. It's great. And of course, Tower of Terror and everything. Those are great rides. People still love them. But I do think, adding all of these new high-tech rides like Rise of the Resistance and things like that,
They always break down.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. They always break down, and it's like you're causing so much you're causing so many different problems, you know, that were never there with these other rides. I don't remember that the 3D Star Wars ride ever having an issue. You know, you were always able to get in without waiting a long time and get out. Same with the Great Movie Ride. You were able to get in, experience the ride, and move on to the next thing. Now you're spending hours waiting in these high-tech rides that, you know, necessarily didn't really need to be there when you had something already similar that was doing the job.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And we hear people keep saying the same thing. You know, that
Yeah.
goes into, and this is what, because you kind of brought it up, but I want to get into the annual passes, Disney Genie. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like, as a person that has a lot of listeners that are middle class and that do like Disney, and you talked about this with the annual pass. I used to
Mm-hmm.
have the annual pass that had the water parks and more. They had the
Right.
golf. You can't get that pass anymore. It's gone. If
No.
you want to go to
Yeah,
the
it's
water
gone.
parks, which I used to go to Blizzard Beach, sometimes before I would go to work, living in the area, I'd go to Blizzard Beach for like an hour before I went to work, sit in the
Yeah.
lazy river and just chill out. And, or go to Typhoon Lagoon and go into the beach area and just see the
Yeah.
wave pool and stuff. You can't do that anymore. You have to pay for the one day. And that's a joke because
Yeah.
it's, you know, one day for 40, 50, $60. Eventually that, you know, that tax on.
It
So,
does.
so my thing is, I believe personally, and I'm really sad to see this because as you are, you know, as you are, I'm a huge Disney guy. I have an annual pass,
Mm-hmm.
and the pass was like over $1,000. It was like almost 1,500 for one person for one
Yeah.
year to renew as at the highest pass. You can't go all the time anymore because they have the
Yeah.
reservation system.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wait in the big lines unless you buy the Disney Genie, which is, I think, is a joke and it's highway robbery. I've talked to
Yeah.
many people that I've interviewed that said they've bought it. They have a Disney reservation, something gets delayed, they lose out on the reservation for the ride or the Disney
Yep.
reservation, and it's really all hectic for them. And I've heard people that have bought it for Rise of the Resistance on YouTube. I saw this video many, many times on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
and multiple people saying they bought it, it broke down, they went to guest relations, no refunds. That's
Yeah.
terrible. I mean, that is
Yeah.
extremely bad customer service in plain English to do that to people. When,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're paying $15 a person for one ride. And if you want to ride it
Yeah.
again, it's another $15.
Yeah.
That's one thing that Universal, I mean, rather Disney had over Universal was the free Fast Pass.
Exactly.
Universal, you had to pay. Disney, you did not. Now, this Bob Chapek guy comes in, who I think is a total joke and is really trying to ruin the company, in my opinion. And it's all about money. And it seems like Disney is now just catering to the rich and the 1%. And the rest of the people, if you got the money, you're going to have to save for a year, 2, 3 years. You
Right.
might be able to take your family and, you know, get ready to pay 20 or 30 grand if you're going to stay there for, you know, a week or a couple of
Yeah.
days.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. It's definitely now turned into a place where you're taking a major vacation.
Yep.
Whereas before it was a weekend thing, you know, a few days here or there, people would be able to come multiple times a year, which is great. You know, I think that was great. And now with all of these add-ons and additional pricing and all of that, and now I'm having to deal with blackout dates where I never had to deal with that before. This past December, I couldn't even go, you know, in between Christmas and New Year's, which is a time where me and my family usually go.
Mhm.
But we couldn't do that this year because now we have blackout dates, and it really sucks. And I could understand, you know, in the middle of the pandemic or late 2020 when, you know, we still had to be cautious. I understand having reservations during that time, you
Sure.
know, to limit the amount of people. Of course, I totally understand that. But now I feel, you know, the world has opened back up. You
Correct.
know, we're going back to normal. I don't think there's a need for the reservations anymore to get into the park, especially if you're paying so much for an annual pass. You know, I don't necessarily agree with this Genie Plus and this Lightning Pass thing. And I don't agree with it. And I haven't used it because I'm so hesitant to pay for something that I didn't have to pay for before, you know?
Well, Noelani,
So
I think the best thing, and sorry to interrupt you, the
no, it's
best
fine.
thing is for people that have annual passes and people that don't believe in this Genie Plus system, do not buy it. Disney
Right.
just came out today. I just was online, read an article in the Orlando Sentinel that they made $7.2 billion. Out of the $7.2 billion they made in 1 quarter of this year, they made a profit of 3.8 billion. That's a lot of damn money.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, I think, personally stealing
Yeah.
with the Genie Plus. They're stealing money from people. And, every company's trying to drive up their profits, but
Right.
there's a thing where you're trying to drive it up and you're just trying to screw the consumer. And Disney's screwing the consumer. And unfortunately, a lot of the people are not like us, Nolani, and
Hmm.
they'll just buy into it. They'll say, okay, we're going to buy Genie
Yeah.
Plus. And we'll just keep spending the $15 a ride.
Right.
And you know what? That Disney says, okay, well, if people are paying for it, let's just keep it
Right.
going.
Of course. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's what happens, you know, and I definitely think that that people who will pay for it are those people that obviously can pay for it, where,
Right.
you know, it's like, okay, no big deal. It's just $15 and I can do that. But for, you know, a lot of us die-hard Disney fans who like really enjoy going on a regular basis, that adds up and it doesn't become a place where we can just go to, you know, once a month or once every couple of months. It starts to like become a major vacation, like I said before. Whereas before it wasn't like that. Disney was like a place for where everyone could enjoy, you know. And it's sad to see that like it looks like they're trying to weed people out of like, you know, the fun, basically, you know, which is sad. And I get that people have to make up profit from what they've lost during the pandemic and stuff, but at what point do you draw the line? At what
Well,
point is it like, okay, well, you know, enough is enough, like this is a lot, like you've already raised our annual package, our annual pass package. And, you know, now we're being charged for not only fast pass, but the photos that we used to get for
you know,
free as well. You know, and I loved those photos. I have so many of those photos that I was able to just download, post to Instagram, post to Facebook, send to family and friends. Now I can't even do that, which is fine, I guess, because I could just take it on my cell phone. But it was a really nice perk to have. And it was the reason why you buy an annual pass, to get all of these perks. Now we don't have any perks anymore.
well, they had the interactive, photos and stuff, which was kind of cool.
Right, exactly.
But, and the thing is that gets me, and I'll end with this because I want to move on to the next topic. It's just that, people again that are listening, you can love Disney. I
Right.
love Disney. I
Yeah.
used to go 5 days a week at night, and I'd go on a couple of things, couple rides, see some people, and then I'd
Hmm.
go back home. But you have to call it like you see it. And I appreciate you, Nolani, because you are calling it like you see it. You listen to these people on YouTube, and
Hmm.
Disney can do no wrong.
Right.
Disney Genie is fine with them. It's
Right.
no big deal. And
Right.
it's really sad because it starts to be like a cult that,
Yeah.
again, like I said, Disney can do no wrong. And maybe these people are loaded and they
Right.
just they just
Yeah.
don't give a damn.
Right.
And they could raise the price for the annual passes up to $5,000, and they'd say Disney can do no wrong. But
Right.
you know what? We tell the truth here on this show, and you tell the truth, and I appreciate that because again, we can love Disney, but we got to tell the truth about this.
Of
So
course. Yeah. You got to ask why, you know, you got to question and be like, well, why, you know, why are you doing this now? you know, like, of course, yes, I love Disney, and when I can go, I'm gonna go, and what I can, you know, spend my money on, I'm gonna spend my money on. But, you know, it's
Yeah.
not like an all or nothing thing. You know, you got to question some things, and you got to be like, hey, this is getting a little bit out of hand.
Disney was making so many profits throughout the pandemic. They might have lost a little bit when Disney was closed, of course,
Right.
but Disney Plus, remember, launched during the
Exactly.
pandemic,
Yep.
and they
Hmm.
just upped the price for that, a few
Yes.
months back. I have Disney Plus personally.
Yep.
So,
Same. Hmm.
we are seeing this, and you can go back. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe Noelani. You can go back on the internet, search to any reliable news source you want, and you can see that what I was saying about how much Disney made, it's on the Orlando Sentinel website in today's newspaper as we're
Yes.
taping this. And as far as Disney Plus, I'm sure there's plenty of news organizations that reported that throughout the pandemic, Disney made huge profits on Disney Plus, and that's actually what carried them throughout the pandemic. So
Yep.
we're not making up facts here. We're staying it real, and we'll move on for that. Noelani Soto, what do you hope people get from this interview that we did today?
I really hope that people, first of all, continue to go to Disney regardless of what's happening. I still feel like you should definitely go experience it with your family, you know, take your kids, and just kind of pay attention to what's going on. If you don't need a Genie pass, don't get it.
Right.
It's, you know, you can still experience Disney without it. I've done it a bunch of times, you know, since it has come out, and I haven't had an issue at all with, you know, still experiencing like the true magic. Just really, and knowing that you can go in a weekend. If you live in South Florida, you can definitely still do things in 24 hours. Don't let that hold you back. Don't feel like you need to spend a whole week there if you don't have to. A good 24 hours planned the right way, you can definitely do it. And I hope that, you know, this helps to get people out there.
Noelani Soto here on Fire Breathing Rob. Noelani, as we end, where can people find more about you and also read some of your work?
So I'm actually on Instagram. It's at Lani.Soto, Lanii.Soto. And then I also have a Muck Rack profile where you can see all of my articles that I've written. I mostly write for Miami on the Cheap right now. So if you're in Miami, Broward, or Palm Beach counties, you can definitely go on there and search free and cheap things to do, you know, during the week, during the weekend.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of great things on there.
All right, Noelani Soto, thanks so much for your time. Hope we can do this again sometime soon.
Thank you.